Whew. Okay, so, hi guys, it's Lion here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we're doing another episode of the Sword and Sorcery Book Club. Today we're looking at Chapter 2 in the Battle of the Blackstone Conan crossover event. I guess you could call it the Robert E. Howard verse event that is being headed by Jim Zub with art by Jonah Schwarf, and if I remember correctly, the letterer is Richard Starkins, as usual, right? So, I know last week I said I was going to have videos out, on Wednesday now because I got added to Jim Zub's, advanced reader copy list. I got busy with school, so that's not going to happen this week. Also, I didn't have time to go to my comic book shop, so I don't have a physical copy, but thanks to the arc that, I was provided with, I can do this review with basically no issues. I just needed to find time to record, and 6 p.m. on Friday night is when that is, right? So hopefully I'll have this out by the end of Friday, maybe Friday at 10 p.m. or something like that. If not, Saturday works fine, and I'll have a video up on Sunday, and I'll try to do something for next Wednesday just to make up for the fact that I didn't get a Wednesday video out like I said I would. So this was a phenomenal addition to the story. I really, really loved it. I think that the crazy time travel shenanigans involved are really, really fun, and I think that more or less summarizes what I think about this story. It's just a really fun romp with a bunch of interesting, very crazy characters, and I really, really love it. So I'm trying to think of anything else to say that isn't really directly tied to talking about the story. So this will be spoiler filled like always, maybe a little bit less than usual, just because I was rushing through writing this a little bit just so I could get this out in a somewhat timely manner. But let's just jump into it. So we have a 6-panel grid, and each of these panels has the face of a different character. So we have the Hyborian Age with Conan, we have France 14-something with Agnes, and then we have Africa 16-something, I think maybe, with Solomon Kane. The timing on those might be different. And then the bottom 3 segments are America 1930-something, and it's Elborak, Conrad, and Kirwan, right? So basically what's happening here is that all of these characters are simultaneously reacting to James Allison appearing in front of them, right? So he's been pushed through time and space. He's appearing thanks to the sigil that shows up with the green magic to interact with all of them at the same time. And so I was confused the first time I read through this book. The second time it was a lot clearer. So I recommend you read this more than once to really find proper understanding of it. So everyone is reacting to this pretty negatively. I would say that Conan, Dark Agnes, and Solomon Kane are predictably the roughest reactors to this, whereas the boys in America are more or less floored by the revelation that this guy just kind of showed up, and maybe that is because within the context of the characters, and the fact that magic has died down more and more as time progresses in the version of Earth that Robert E. Howard wrote, Conan is significantly more used to weird shit like this happening. Solomon Kane is as well, and Dark Agnes is mildly, willing to deal with this stuff, right? I don't think that in any of her stories there is a weird tales element, right? A weird story element, but like a paranormal element. But if I remember correctly, there was a point where that was going to start happening. It was just that initially her stories were mostly set in like a normal historical time period, right? So I think that the point here is these characters are more used to this weird, crazy, fucked up shit happening to them than the more modern characters, and so their reaction initially is just anger, not like revelation at the fact that the stuff that they thought was interesting and cool is actually real, right? So I found that really fun. I thought that the characterization of that and the fact that it implies something about the characters was really well done. I really like that. Like I said, James Allison has been pushed through time and space, and he kind of starts off speaking kind of nonsense, and then it kind of like locks in, and it makes sense. And basically, he's drawn to strong spirits, people that are relevant. In this case, just people that were characters made by Robert E. Howard. And he's attracted to their strong spirits, but he doesn't know if they're heroes or fools. And it doesn't really matter. They need to come to a consensus. They need to do something. But we don't really know exactly what it is. And he tells us that everyone that is connected to this thing is dead. Whether it is now or in the future, death comes for them all, right? Which is, meant to be this kind of scary revelation, but also it's just kind of reality, right? So I thought that wasn't super strong, but I understand what it is, especially because the definition on James Allison's face is really weird, because sometimes he looks completely normal. He looks like he's completely set as a normal person, and then sometimes he looks like a skeleton, and sometimes he looks like a zombie, and I really find that enjoyable. I don't know what it means, right? But there is some thematic element that he's trying to convey, and I really like it. I think it's really cool. And so what I'm guessing here, it's kind of like a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of situation where he's going through these cycles of different states of existence as he talks to them, because he's in flux, right? Since he is being pushed through time and space. And I think that's really, really cool. And they're all reacting to the same message. And we get to focus on the guys in America here, where Elborak yells at him, "Is it you? Are you the reason? Are you the thing that has been haunting me since that fateful day in Savage Sword of Conan, where he saw the sigil for the first time?" And James Allison doesn't really react all that much to him. He's just like, "No, that is a word. It is a symbol. It means that you are marked to be hunted." So this thing is like a predator, and is chasing down all of these people through time and space, because they have come in contact with the sigil at some point, and it's like a bloodhound searching for them, searching for the people that have contact with this thing, which is really interesting. I really like that. I think it's really, really cool. And a new portal opens up kind of in the eerie silence after his declaration, and from it springs the beast in the black stone, the thing from Strigoi Kabar, right? That was unleashed by Solomon Kane's co-worker, I guess, the other mercenary guy. And, well, it starts attacking them. So the detectives, Conrad and Kirwan, immediately go off to hide. They're kind of like scared, right? Of course. But Elborak, being Elborak, decides that no, he's going to fight. So he immediately goes to grab a sword. And he's kind of old at this point. He's significantly older than basically all the other characters. He has gray at his temples, and I would put him at like late 50s, early 60s compared to all of the other characters who maybe are in their 40s, right? And Briza, I think, is younger. She's like in her 20s. That doesn't really slow him down. He's still Elborak, so he's still badass as fuck. And he's scrambling for a sword. He starts to fight it, and he has this kind of conversation, or this kind of narration point, I guess, that tells us, he was initially quite surprised and scared with the reality of the situation, but as soon as he got a sword back in his hand and he understood what was going on, he felt a sense of calm come down to him, right? He was back in his element. He was ready for the bullshit, and he starts attacking. And it doesn't really do anything to this creature. It's not able to be harmed by the sword. It smacks the fuck out of Elborak. It just pushes him away, and he gets flying, and he's hurt. His stomach is hurt, I think. And so Conrad pulls out a gun. He shoots it. Nothing happens. And as soon as as the creature is about to smack the hell out of Conrad with his claws, it's about to kind of plunge them into his body, Briza stands in its way. She kind of comes out of nowhere. It's kind of unclear how she got there. I would assume that she made it all the way up here from Texas, or James Allison pushed her through his portal to this place. I'm not really sure. It's not really important, but it might be nice to see that happen later on, get that explained to us, right? And she has her Spear Slayer sword, and she uses it to push back the animal. Kirwan notices that it has a flight or fight response to the blade. Something about it is special compared to all of the other weapons that they've tried to use on it. And it decides that it's not going to win, or that it's afraid or something. And so what it does is sniff the air, lick its the blood on its fingers, and then disappear in a puff of smoke and green light. And now we have the characters finally have time to interact with each other. And basically they're like, or Brizza mostly, is like, okay, this is over for now, but it's not really over. You guys have two options, fight or flight. What will you choose? Alborak immediately says fight, obviously. Conrad and Kirwan take a little bit longer to decide, but eventually they're like, well, it looks like we have to fight, so we'll do that. James Allison comes back. He's like, okay, I guess you guys are the best thing we got, so I'll just grab you and take you back to the Hyborian Age. And he does this at the same time as he takes Agnes and Solomon also back into the Hyborian Age. And we get this interesting kind of panel here where all the characters kind of are pushed out of the portal. And this might be the only part of the story where I'm a little bit disappointed with the way that Jonas Schwarf kind of draws here. Some of the layout there to that feels kind of odd. I think it's a perspective thing. It doesn't work for me. The way he draws Brizza in that moment feels kind of odd. And because that's the first thing I focus on, all of the other characters also look kind of weird. It's not that big a deal, but I did notice it in the moment. And I noticed it earlier when I was rereading this to write this down. And so I think, if it was possible, maybe fix that for the trade. It's not really that big of a difference. I'm sure most people probably didn't even notice. But to me, it was like a very distinct, like, initial reaction, like, something's wrong here. Something looks weird. But it's not that bad, actually. And it actually makes sense with the concept. It reminds me a lot of, like, those cool action, like, stills that happen in, like, cartoons, right? After an explosion, all the characters are, like, in a circle around the explosion. And they have this weird, like, perspective where they're kind of being looked up into or up upon. But because of that, they're kind of distorted a little bit. That kind of felt like what that was supposed to be. And it just didn't really work for me, but it is what it is. I think in general, it was, the artwork is really good. It was just that one panel that I didn't really like. And so now we have all of the characters interacting with each other. Conan immediately sees Brizza there and he's surprised, because his young, beautiful friend that died is finally back. And I can't remember the setting in which Conan and Brizza meet exactly. I think it's a bit after Conan's battle in Venarium, right? It's a few years after that, maybe, or a few months after that. It has to be after Frostshine's daughter. So young Conan meets this awesome woman. He lays with her. She dies. He gets affected by it. Later, Bellet also dies. And she comes back to him. And then Brizza, suddenly out of nowhere, in his older age, right, now that he's like in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, she comes back again. And he's immensely surprised by this. Maybe he's thinking that it's an apparition again. Like Bellet, maybe he's thinking something else. I'm not really sure. But he's immensely happy that she's here. And this is when Solomon Kane decides to be a fucking psycho like he always is. And grabs his gun, points it at Brizza, and demands answers. Because she seems to know what the fuck's going on. And what happens here is that Conan immediately gets his macho vibes going on. He's like, don't touch my woman, don't threaten my woman. And he starts to beat the shit out of Solomon Kane. And this fight is awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. I think that this characterization of these characters is really great because ultimately all of the Robert E. Howard characters share this kind of like impulsive badassery to them, right? They all have this kind of like, interest in battle, right? Or at least most of them. And Solomon Kane and Conan, I think, are maybe the most similar. I mean, okay, technically Cole is the most similar to Conan because they're more or less the same character. But what I'm saying is that the ferocity of these characters is more or less matched. And so it makes sense in a classical kind of crossover event that some characters will have an initial confrontation. And it just happens that Solomon Kane, seeing magic and being all riled up by that, decides to attack. And Conan, seeing one of his early loves maybe come back from the dead, is also riled up. And so they start fighting. And I really enjoyed this fight. I thought it was really fun. My favorite part was how it ended. Where it looks like Conan has the upper hand because he looks like he's about to choke out Solomon Kane. But then the next panel shows you that Solomon Kane has a knife to his throat. And so he's like, kill me, but I can do it faster. And it's awesome. And I really, really enjoy that. I love those kind of like final standoffs with these types of situations where the characters ultimately decide that it's better to stop fighting because they're evenly matched, right? And I think that this works really, really well. This is the second time that Jim Zub has handled something like this very well. Conan versus Cole in one of the earlier stories, and then Solomon Kane versus Conan. I think he's doing a good job with this. So I really like that because, it works to elucidate that, these characters are evenly matched, but it's not so like Fast and Furious-y about it. Where in Fast and Furious, they have to punch like each other the exact same amount of times and stuff like that. And it just kind of feels more fake than it is. So I think that they've done a great job with this, and I think that Jonas Sharf's artwork here was really phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed it. So they stop fighting, and now they're all sitting down to talk. It turns out that Elborak is in pain, and he sees something that he kind of seems to be remembering for the first time. It looks like new memories are coming into his brain, and they're kind of happening at the same time as he's seeing them, because we get sent back in time to 1919, Arabia, which I think is supposed to be the same location in time stamp, which when the Savage Sword of Conan issue happened, right? Like the story in Savage Sword of Conan #4, I think is supposed to be where this is happening, right? So after the boy leaves and Elborak is still there, the creature shows up, I'm guessing from tracking him because it tasted his blood. It shows up and it starts attacking him. Elborak is very willing to fight, and he's younger, so he's in better shape, so he's doing a lot better fighting it, but he doesn't have the right tools, and so ultimately the creature overpowers him. We get to see that it lands a hit on one of his shoulders, and then in the past, which is actually the future for Elborak, the attack that he just suffered shows up on his body immediately. And then we continue on with this. We see that the characters are trying to deal with it, but nothing can be done. And eventually, the creature rips Elborak in two, and we get to see that repeated in the past. Elborak is just kind of shoved into the air and then split into kind of magically, I guess. And Jesus Christ, that was so brutal. Awesome. Obviously, he's dead. And the characters now have to deal with the fact that they have to fight an enemy that can track them across time and space, that can attack them in a place and time when they can't really defend themselves or where they're not ready to fight it. And how the hell are they going to deal with that? Brizza kind of rallies the troops. Conan says that he will not lose again against the Blackstone. She echoes this promise and guides them all into, I guess Conan was at a Pictish camp. So she guides them into this Pictish home, or this tent, I guess, and it looks like they're gonna get ready to see what the fuck they're gonna do about this crazy creature, right? And it seems like they're gonna battle the beast or die trying. And it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed this issue. I thought it was really, really fun. I really enjoyed the artwork and the coloring. Jim Sub's storytelling is really, really great this time. I think that he's managing to juggle the characters very well, in a way that he didn't really manage in the Serpent War. So we get to see that his ability as a storyteller has increased, and maybe it's because he has a lot less mandates to deal with from Marvel and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Heroic Signatures is a lot more hands off with Jim, but that's not really necessarily true. That's just speculation on my part, so I'm not really sure. But the issue ends. Really, really great stuff here. There was also an essay by Jeff Shanks about Dark Agnes. It's labeled part 2. I'm pretty sure it should be part 3, including the 0 issue. But because they didn't do that, I guess it's just called part 2. I don't know if the previous one was called part 1 though, so I'll have to double check that. But Jeff's essay is pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It gives you a bit of information about Dark Agnes, and then there's a bit of an interview between Heroic Signatures and Jonas. So we get to see him have a jaunty drawing, I think is what the title of the segment is called. And he just gets to talk about some of the work he's doing. I didn't really get to read it much because the art copy that I got has a big watermark on it, and so it kind of makes it hard to see some of the text. And I was trying to rush through this, so I will talk about that issue and talk about that conversation much in more detail in the next review for the Battle of Blackstone. So yeah, so hopefully I remember to do that, and if I don't, remind me, and I'll do it for the last review for the series. But that's really all I have to say. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Did you enjoy this issue? Did you not like it? Did you love it? Let me know down below. Did you like the essay? Did you like the interview? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, do all that stuff. It would really help me out. And I hope you guys have a nice weekend. So see you guys later.